Sweet. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, bam, 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 bam. We don't really have a segment transition, but welcome to Under the Skin of Death Autonomous. This 11, no, yes, an 11 track monster. We listened to it a little bit ago, and it just like bass drops, just boom, boom, just heavy. And not only that, but the lyrical content seems to be pretty heavy as well. It seems to be pretty authentic. It goes under the skin, which really works. It's raw, it's emotional, it's just it smacks you in the face. Which is really cool, and I cannot wait to see what specific topics are entailed throughout the entirety of this record. But being that we are basically inside, just pocketed inside of episode 39 right now, we have with us Hunter and Jon from Demon Defiled to help us dissect and just absolutely rip open everything. Like, you're going to hear ribs crack. You're going to hear like blood squirting every now and then, but like in the most productive way possible. No cruelty, to any living thing. It's more like the album was hurt in the making of this video. Absolutely guaranteed, but it needs to happen. This is a lobotomy. So that being said, gentlemen, what would you say is a good back of the book summary for Death Autonomous?
What's repeat that question again?
Right, sorry. So like, I don't know. Imagine this album as a book, right? You find it in the library, you're like, ooh, that's an interesting cover. It looks like it could be AI art, or who knows. Just kidding. And you look at the back of the book and you see the kind of paragraph that's introducing you to the rest of this, the entirety of this. So imagine you're looking at the back of that. What would you say is a good back of the book summary for this album?
Struggle. A lot of this album, I would say the good majority of this album is all about struggles. A lot of it is about depression. A lot of it has to deal with trying to find your right place of mind in this world, vocally speaking. We do have some that deviate. Gagged and Bound is not about that at all.
I got the impression.
But pretty much everything else has to deal with struggle. I guess Gagged and Bound is struggle in a sense, if you know what I mean. But struggle, the mental struggle of things. So depression, the mental struggle of dealing with that, self-worth, religion. Dance with Death. I say, I pray that God just takes my heart and rips it apart so that the devil can finally take me.
Right.
So I'm saying, like, yeah, I believe in God and I want God to take me, but I'm so tired of fucking living that I'm okay with going to hell.
Right, exactly. Any way out.
So, there's a lot of that type of struggle. Death Autonomous itself has a section that says, you fuckers can't face the facts when you're the ones that truly lack, stating that there's a struggle with folks, especially nowadays, that are they're so close-minded, they're so straightforward in everything. If somebody likes jazz music over metal, that's the best thing ever, and you can't tell them anything different. If somebody is a Christian, you can't tell them or offer anything different. If somebody likes Ford over Chevy, you can't tell them anything different. When really what makes humanity, to me, better than any other living thing on the planet is that, originally speaking, we're all diverse. We're all just a cesspool of difference, and that's what makes us better. So like, yes, I have my particular worldviews, I have my particular religious views, but that doesn't mean I'm going to fucking degrade somebody for what they believe in. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to hear them out. You know, like I'll sit there and listen to somebody's point about why a Ford is better than a Chevy, but I have a custom Chevy Silverado sitting in my front yard. You know, and sometimes, you know, maybe they'll make a good fact, you know, but you know, and same thing with like Xbox versus PlayStation 5. Like, you know, you can't change people's minds. He's a PlayStation, I'm an Xbox guy, you know, but at the end of the day, we're still best fucking friends. You know,
I mean, you just can't. It's also like you can't let your ideas define you.
Exactly.
Because everybody can evolve, and you know, you might have this idea of something in your particular way at one moment, but then you learn something a week later, and then your perspective on that one idea completely changes.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what, you know, really defines a person in that situation, is if they're willing to evolve with that information.
Yeah. So one thing, you know, a struggle that I have with folks is the closed-mindedness. You know,
Yes.
you know, so I can be stubborn, I can be closed-minded. Don't get me wrong. I can't just like anybody else, but on certain subjects, certain things, like I don't care. You know, if you like blue over red, I don't care if you are one way politically, one way religiously. You know, I don't care. At the end of the day, just be a good fucking person, and listen and understand, just like you would want them to listen and understand you.
Exactly, man. When people prioritize when people prioritize their perspective over others, that is when I lose respect, no matter how long I've known them, which usually isn't that long. Because it's like, well, if you're not willing to expand your horizons spiritually, mentally, physically, you're just going to be you're going to be stuck in the same spot. You're going to be like a fucking caveman, bro. Caveman never, like, you're not going to evolve. You know, you're not going to be able to change and just improve yourself. I know, like, there are even just tiny petty details about myself that I talked about earlier in session, prejudices that I've had before in the past regarding the music scene that I wanted to be a part of so much. And I'd like to think that the Anatomy podcast, like, the reason the main logo is an eye is because perspective is everything to me now, no matter who it's from. And I know I'm very confident now, at least compared to even 3 or 4 years ago, just in the way that I go about things, because I'm very calm, I'm very settled, I'm very open-minded about things. But like the moment people start calling me like a pervert or something like that, or a racist, I'm like, okay, hold the fuck up. Why are you saying these things? And let's figure it out, because those are very, very bad things in my world, as well as the relative world. Like, nobody wants to be called a racist. Like, and if they do, it's because, well, they're not really in the right state of mind, or, you know, they're comfortable living in a sundown city, wherever the fuck it can be. And that emphasizes the closed-mindedness. It's like, no, it's 2023. You can't call Black people or Chinese people their respective magic words. I call them magic words, but that's not supposed to be a positive thing. It's supposed to be an ironic thing, like, maybe don't say that. It's unfortunate, and it's like it baffles me, for example, that sundown cities still exist, but they do, because it's like, yeah, freedom of speech, you know, all this. I'm like, well, not hate speech. That's not what that was supposed to be for. But it's just important to keep open-minded. So, you know, we have our back of the book summary for what is going to be an 11-track Goliath. And I've been meaning to do this with other bands, just like back-to-back consecutive questionnaire. But a new question that I would have for Death Autonomous specifically, we've talked a little bit about the album cover throughout the entirety of episode 39. I mean, you know, I had my initial opinions on it. I'm like, oh, it looks like, but like at the end of the day, it's your album cover. You decided upon it, and it actually works pretty well. So, with that in mind, what was the creative process behind this record? Did you guys have a prompt that you ended up providing your artist, or was it just an album cover you ended up buying? And you're like, okay, this looks pretty cool. It works with how heavy the music is. You know, like what was the final decision behind the album cover?
So we had bought something else from this guy, and we were originally going to release Gagged and Bound as a single with that cover that we bought for him.
That was hand drawn.
Yeah, that one was hand drawn, and then it was the same guy, right? Or different guy?
No, it's a different guy.
But then, yeah, so then we saw something else for an album cover. And we ended up buying that because we were like, that's fucking rad. But then literally like an hour later, he posted another thing from his dump of shit that he's putting out. And I was like, yo, that one is rad. And it ended up being the cover that we went with Death Autonomous. But we hit him up. We were like, did anybody buy this yet? He was like, no. And so we went ahead and bought it. But honestly, it was it probably would not have been that if John had originally found the guy and then he sent me his link, and then I got on there like a couple hours later and saw it, and I was like, yo, this one's actually really fucking good, you know, and we hit him up. So that's kind of how that worked.
Okay, that was cool. That was before we even knew that we were doing the Death Autonomous album to begin with.
So Death was actually the last song written on the album. It was written probably about a week before the album dropped. Yeah. It was.
We had slowly been gathering songs up for like about a year.
Yeah.
You know, and we were planning on doing a single with this one and a single with that one.
Yeah.
Life was happening, and we couldn't get around to it. You know, to make the release how we wanted to, with promotional stuff and all that crap. And you know, finally it got to the point where we looked at each other and we're like, we have an album's worth of fucking songs, bro. Why don't we just put out a whole album?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're all relatively in the same realm of things.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. And so obviously then this is, I think, a really applicable question, speaking for the whole album. So you had all these other songs ready to go. You're like, dude, let's just crank out another one, have that be the title track. So what ended up being like the decision upon Death Autonomous? Like, what about that saying, what about that phrase kind of connects with the rest of the album? What does Death Autonomous mean? Like now we're getting into the kind of basic interview questions, but also we're dissecting this as much as possible. We're like fucking digging into the eyeballs and shit. We're like going into the tubes of the brain. Like, I'm dissecting this as much as possible because I want people to have that level of insight upon, well, something that you guys invested a lot of time and money into, as well as creative thinking.
So Death Autonomous, why it ended up being the name overall is, yes, the song, I named it Death Autonomous before the song was completely finished. But then I thought to myself, I was like, this whole album touches pretty much in every song about suicide in some sort of way, whether it's self-suicide, religious suicide, political suicide, some type of suicide, in some form or fashion. And you know, I told John, I told him, I was like, you know, it might be a good album name. And he was like, fuck yeah, it would. Like, that's a sick fucking name, you know? Because Death Autonomous is literally just another way of saying suicide, right?
And it literally just cradles the rest of the album.
Yeah.
Like,
so fair enough. And like, because again, kind of wonder bread white boy over here, I'm like, what does autonomous mean again? And it actually works really well because having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs, that being Death Autonomous, that would be death to one, you know, of one's own accord. So yeah, now I completely understand. I love that. And obviously when it came to actually purchasing the album and having that be the album cover, like, I don't know, was it like the intensity in the album artwork itself? Like, what about this album cover for you guys kind of applies to what Death Autonomous is? Because it doesn't exactly like scream suicide when you first look at it. It's more like, oh, this is a pretty cool deathcore album cover. Or at least that's just my opinion. But
It's like what you envisioned.
Yeah. So like for me, what I like about it is the fire, and that there is the demon skull, of course. You know, there's that demon skull in it, in the shape, or that is colored in flames.
Yes.
But everything is burning. You know, that is, like I talked about. It's not just one self suicide in the manner of like killing yourself, but like society suicide. You know, like you just, in that album cover, there's a person standing there just watching it all burn. You know, and it's very fitting, in my opinion, of the one self person watching their world in front of them burn.
Right.
You know, it's dying, and they're autonomous by themselves, just watching everything unfold. That's what it says to me.
Right.
I don't know if it says something different to John, to be honest, but
I mean, like, to me, it just like encompasses the whole being of what I think I would be welcoming myself into upon death. You know, that's that landscape right there.
Exactly. And like, kind of with that context in mind that you just provided, it does indeed, I think, work really well with Demon Defiled, because it's like on the album cover, even to a relative surface level sense, with the corrective, input that Hunter and Jon have both provided us, it's like we have a demon skull and it's on fire and it's like a whole fucking sky, but at the end of the day, it is a demon being defiled, being set ablaze. So I mean, I think that connects really well with the band name as well. And obviously we've been talking a little bit about what the title track means, and that is Death Autonomous. Kind of encompassing all of these other various metaphorical suicides, as well as like literal and more direct suicides, that being songs like Dance with Death. So I guess, is there any other commentary that you boys would want to provide as far as the title track itself?
The title track is about, just trying to break free from normal standards. It's, like you said, surface level, yes, it is about different various forms of suicide, but it is also a little bit deeper, in the sense of like, you don't have, it's not saying, it's like saying you don't have to kill yourself to fit in. You don't have to do these things. What you should do is open your mind and just be free. Keep going on, keep accepting the things around you for what they are. In that song, I said the only way I'm going out is by my own hands. And yes, surface level is, oh, he wants to kill himself, oh well, sort of deal. But really what I'm saying there, on the deeper side of things, is like, I'm not going to let the world around me affect me, sort of deal. It's more of like, yeah, you can say, you can do, you can be whatever it is, but you're not going to kill me. You're not going to stop me. You're not going to do this, that, and the other thing. The only thing that's going to stop me from progressing in this world is myself. Right.
And that's always important to keep that in mind. So that would be Death Autonomous, lyrically speaking. Now we move on to track 2, Prophet. Which I have a feeling this is more of like the sacrilegious suicide that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah. So lyrically speaking, in that song, there is a lot of direct attacks towards God and religion, my own religion, to be honest. Of after the first chorus, I say, why would I follow a God who doesn't give a fuck if I died young? You know, and that goes back to my military times. I mean, I was 24 years old thinking I was never going to be able to walk again, you know, and that's, you know, why would I follow a God like that? You know, why would I follow a God who doesn't love what he's created? You know, not saying that I don't. What I am saying is that I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's talking about like in that song, it does talk about how like the evil in the world will make you many promises, and it will, you know, they'll come to you. You know, any promises that evil makes you, they'll come to you. The easy route will come to you.
Yeah.
But the harder routes in life are the rewarding ones. And that's kind of what that song meant to me. And that is that it was very, very much of, you know, dealing with struggles with God and staying on a path of being a good person. Because quite honestly, I could be a bad person. I really could. And
everybody's capable of that.
I could do it very well. That's the thing with my skills and my sets in life and what I've been handed. I could do it, and I could do it well. But instead, you know, I rather be a good person and struggle and help those around me. That song does kind of also bash the general population of the Christian community of that I'm a part of. You know, it does bash their closed-mindedness. You know, it hurts me when I see people that are like, oh, I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to talk to somebody that's Islamic, or I'm not going to talk to somebody that's Jewish, or you know, I'm going to bash people that are pagan. Like,
it's not the way to go.
It's not cool in my opinion, and that's not how I am. And honestly, as a person who considers himself a Christian individual, like I will show people the respect that I would want to be shown in the eyes of who I call God. And you know, it says love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say forced conversion anywhere in the Bible. It does say, it says, you know, talk about it, and if they don't want anything to do with it, don't waste your time.
Yeah, and exactly.
That song talks about those people that are in religious groups that just force it down other people's throats, and then, you know, they hate somebody that doesn't want to listen to it. And so, you know, I have a problem with the folks that are like that with other humans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. It's ultimately, like, religiously speaking, sorry if this is like super loud right now. I don't know why it does that. Just like automatically increases gain on sound. Just so annoying. When it comes to like religious beliefs and stuff, like since my own childhood and stuff, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, so I'm not going to invest too much time into it. Christian house, pretty strict, but not like Catholic level or Baptist level, thank goodness. And like I don't even know just what you're talking about, what the song is talking about. It's ultimately the reason that I can never stick with Christianity. That, and I'm just like, there's no way it's just all one dude and like a collection of his subordinates. Like there are like hundreds of them. There are hundreds of gods, there are hundreds of deities. And that's like simply why I'm not monotheistic. But like as far as Christianity is concerned, it's like the Anglo-Saxons and like history is kind of it has revealed, I think, over time that, like, for whatever reason, I don't even know why. Like, I really don't know why. It still baffles me to this day. Just like the really dirty side of all like the Anglo-Saxons, the Catholics, the Baptists, you know, priests with kids and shit like that. It all constantly baffles me that they ended up being the kind of dirtier side of the religious factions in the world when they want to be so much better. They want to be righteous. They want everybody to worship Jesus. And especially here in the Western world, it's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, no, like, Jesus was cool, but his father, his whatever God doesn't really seem like a great guy. Or at least that's just the interpretation. That's the impression I've received. And then his highest subordinates, they had relations with children involved in their church. I'm like, that's gross though. Like, why the fuck do you guys support this? And then, when it's mentioned, it's a blind eye is turned. It's like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have that conversation with people. It sucks. It's not a great conversation.
I'm glad you said that, because it's I struggle with that a lot, but at the end of the day, what I have to tell myself are people.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also am a big fan of science. I'm the NASA out of the two of us.
Yeah, right.
I like to look into things and this, that, and the other thing. And I like how you said about not being monotheistic. And one of the things about me being a Christian individual is I don't believe in monotheism. I really don't. And that's frowned upon a lot in the church. But like you said, it's hard to think that one deity made everything. But then, you also dissect the Bible, because that's what a lot of Christian people like to do. They like to throw Bible verses at you.
Yeah.
But if you then come back and say, in the Bible, it specifically does say that God is the only God that you shall worship, implying that there are other gods.
Yeah.
So even right then there in the Bible, it says that there's other gods. So, the closed-mindedness of the Christian belief system in general really does get to me, and I talk about it a lot, because really, it's something that needs
to be addressed.
Addressed and changed, in a sense, because it is manipulative. It is to get power. It is to control the hearts and minds of individuals a lot of the time. Yeah. But you got Christian folks like me who, like, yes, I believe in God. Great. But at the same time, I also have read the Bible, and I also can say, I don't think that there's going to be a skeleton dragon that breaks out of the Earth's surface and eats everybody. But I also believe that there is other gods. I mean, if you look into Norse paganism, there's a section in some of their books where Odin actually has a conversation with the Christian God. And yes, if you look into Egyptian paganism, there's a section where the Egyptian gods had conversations with the Christian God.
That's nuts. I didn't know about that.
So there's a lot of different outlets of different religions that have conversations with the other God and connected. And not a lot of people will do their own research. Not a lot of people will look into another religion because they were born and raised, hey, you will believe this, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, paganism, whatever. Yeah. And they won't look into the other ones. So when you start looking into the other ones, you go, wait, shit's doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, shit, dude, I like literally the last time I really dug into the Bible was with Derek when we did an Under the Skin session for their latest album, The Creation of God, which talks about many events in the Bible from God's perspective, depicting him as kind of like the dick that I also agree that he is sometimes, but just like the things that he's done throughout history and what is recorded in the Bible. Like that's really the last time I looked into the Bible. And even then it's like he provided the quotes that he was referencing in the songs, and that's about it. Shit. I mean, I even have the Prime Aid, well, kinda the Prime Ada, which is the Bible for Ossature, which is Norse paganism, or a more modernized version of it, but the Ossature Folk Assembly I do not associate with because apparently they're fucking white supremacist, just no bueno. So I'm Ossature, not Ossature Folk Assembly, nor am I an Odinist. So with Ossature, Prime Ada, and Poetic Ada being their Bible, all I know is the creation myth, the space cow, and like it's a whole bunch of weird shit, bro. I'll admit it. I will absolutely admit it. But I did not know that there are excerpts, passages in the Prime Edda or the Poetic Edda about Odin talking with the Christian God. That's like very, very interesting, and I want to look into that now because I did not know about that. And yeah, that's cool.
It's different, man. Once you start looking into different, you look into different alleys and everything in life, right? You start realizing that all of them lead to the business circle,
Yeah, that's true.
And so the closed-mindedness of society on everything is really something that bothers me in this world.
Yes.
When I was overseas, there are people who will literally die for things
resources
that may or may not be true. Like when I was overseas, I never once degraded, like when I was in Africa, I never degraded people for being godless out there. They just didn't know. You know what I mean? But other Christian folks would be like, oh, I can't believe that shit. Why would they, they're going to go to hell for this, that, and the other thing.
I'm like, no, they're not.
No, they're not. Because if you were a true Christian, you would know that your God isn't dumb and would be like, they didn't ever get taught. They never had the resources. They never had this. So every single person that is just so close-minded really bothers me.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, he's a Norse pagan, and he'll sit there and talk about it, and then he'll let me talk about what I want to talk about, and it's a good old conversation, and there's no anger, there's no fighting amongst others. In other places in the world, the war in Afghanistan was going on way before we even showed up, and it was because somebody couldn't agree upon the same God that both of them worship. So, it's one of those things that, like, if you just take a step back and really go, okay, I understand what you're saying, and then you can choose to accept it or not. If you don't accept it, okay, great, end the conversation. You don't have to kill the person. You don't have to kill them.
John fire.
I understand that's how you feel. Good conversation. Let's go on, sort of deal. As
put the gun away, please.
Please, but, it's since the dawn of time, even before Christianity, before Islam, before Judaism, all that, people were fighting each other over religion, and that's just human nature.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need to take a step back and realize that humanity is still, to this day, we have evolved, but at our core, we are still just primal beings.
We really are.
And everything that controls our body is all primal. Fight or flight. People are like, oh, it's my fight or flight sense, but what they're not realizing is that that's their primal sense of, were you a protector when you were a caveman, or were you somebody that needed to run away for the better of the population? You talked about like liking to wake up early in the morning. There are people like me who prefer to be awake at night, and that's because our primal needs. There had to be somebody awake at night, so a saber-tooth didn't come and fucking eat everybody. Whereas there were people during the daytime who go out, forage and hunt and do that stuff. They were.
I'm gonna go get berries.
Everything that we do as humans is primal. Just on a different scale. Now we got technology, so we're like, oh, we're advanced. We're not advanced.
now I'm just a caveman for a joke. Just ooga.
Yeah, now we have a switch for our fire. Awesome.
Yeah. Fire.
Exactly.
It's a whole thing. But I mean, talking about profit, that's more or less like sacrilegious suicide, which I really, really like, and that's a great second track, I think, because religion, if not music, religion is just overarching in all aspects of life, but it always has different interpretations as you like kind of dot around the world, which is always fun. Just makes it more entertaining to learn about. Like it's religion is like sports teams to me. That's like the simplest way I can put that. I'm going to make a video for it instead of trying to explain it and taking up 20 minutes more of your time talking about religion. So track 3 on Death Autonomous, that would be Last Election. a part of me is like, but political suicide. But you take it away to tell us what the last election is about.
Honestly, the current state of our country was due to people fucking pulling into, their Facebooks and their Instagrams and believe in media and all honesty, when it comes to politics, there's not much that anybody can ever fucking do, to be real.
There's no right answer.
There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. Any political view is always going to be wrong. Any non-political view is going to be wrong, whether it's everything will be wrong no matter what you fucking do. But there people like to say, oh, I chose the lesser of the two evils, this, that, and the other thing. That's not necessarily true. If everybody really has that mindset, because you ask anybody from like this last election, they'll say, oh, I voted for Trump because he was the lesser of two evils. Oh, I voted for Biden because he was the lesser of two evils. There is a whole like other section of individuals that you could have voted for.
Yeah. You
chose not to. But if the grand majority is saying, oh, I have to vote this way or that way, that's on them. You don't have to. You really don't have to in America. It's but we've been skewed from the political minds of this is what we have to do. And the lyrics in that are pretty graphic. I talk about ripping fucking heads off and fucking taking down the political powers. It's how I feel. At the end of the day, that one is a little bit more raw of like, if I was in a room, I would probably fucking use some of my talents to destroy, dispatch the situation. I know I can't say certain things since this is going to get posted, but at the end of the day, I'm a big gun owner. I have lots of guns all the time. And I am one of those people that, you said I was a Cali boy earlier, but, I barely, I rock guns, that mag capacity and that bullshit, that's all out the window. The fucking Second Amendment was made to overthrow a tyrannical government, and I will fully always fucking support that. It wasn't to protect your home. It wasn't to go fucking forage and eat food. It was because if the government decided to fucking show up with a tank at your doorstep, at least you could have an assault rifle.
Yeah.
It's not going to do much, but, at least you could. You could try.
Yeah, pea shooter versus a fucking bear. Like, come on.
Exactly. So the thing is, that whole song is about, stop thinking that you only have two fucking choices when it comes to politics. You have unlimited choices. You could be a diehard Republican. You could be a diehard Democrat. You could be an independent, or you could say, fuck this whole thing. Let me fucking make a giant militia and fucking actually overthrow this shit and let's restart. There is no wrong or right answer there. At the end of the day, I have friends that are, politically different than me. And I'm not going to sit there and be like, you're a fucking idiot because our gas prices are higher because you voted for somebody. But I will say you did this to yourself. You can't be mad at anybody but yourself.
Oh, it's so funny.
So that's what that song is about for me.
Nice. Political suicide. I like it. And absolutely, like politics, man. It's so fucking toxic.
I play our music. I like to touch those touchy subjects.
Yeah, touch the touchy.
At the end of the day, I'm not scared to talk about them. What's the worst?
You shouldn't be, man. It's your fucking band, bro.
They're gonna get mad at me. Oh well.
Seriously.
I had we released a song more than a couple months ago, but somebody said some shit about it, and I was like, I messaged them personally, and I just left them an address of my house. I was like, you want to come talk about it? Let's come talk about it.
It's like you do that after they issue a death threat. You're just like, fucking come here, bet.
Like honestly, you got two options. You come into my house and you have a conversation. You come in guns blazing. Either way, I'm gonna say, Siri, play Fortunate Son, and we're gonna have a fun time.
My man, I like it. So track 4 is Disgraced. And I have it like talking about this whole album, it's various suicides or like various metaphorical suicides. Disgraced has me thinking it's like self-value, like suicide of like self-value or something. Like feeling disgrace. It's like, well, that's kind of like forsaking your self-value, or maybe you feel like you did something wrong. So it's like I don't even know.
Disgrace overall does have a more straightforward meaning. There was a guy that I knew back in the day, and that's kind of what that song's about. He once again was a lying, manipulating type of individual. And he fucked over quite a few people that I was in the military with, and got some people discharged over something that they shouldn't have gotten discharged for. You know, he was a snitch. Let's just say that. Of something he should have kept his fucking mouth shut about. And on top of that, you know, he had told us, he has a yacht up north in California or his dad had a yacht, had us all go up there, and then the yacht happened to be being used by his family when we got there. You know, that was a waste. Then another thing, he faked having seizures for months on end, and this, that, and the other thing.
Oh,
really, like, I say something about somebody being a fat fuck, and you know, it really goes back to him because, like, he was a fit dude. He was pretty fit, and then within 6 months, within 6 months, he went from like being a fit dude to being one of those military guys that's 300 pounds and can't even fucking walk a mile. So, you know, I was directly attacking him. I wasn't necessarily like body shaming him in a sense, but it sounded good where it was at.
Yeah, no, but, disclaimer. Disclaimer,
I wasn't being an asshole to fat people, but, you know, I was being an asshole to an asshole. And you know, it is more of a straightforward song. Like the opening line is "Motherfucker, you're done," because, you know, I did confront him. I did some things to that man that I will not say on podcast, but you know, it is more of a straightforward song. But yes, it is talking about what a fucking disgrace that person was.
Sweet.
Yeah. Self-disgrace on someone else's behalf.
Yes.
Sweet. That's that. Yeah, straightforward. I like it. So we've been talking about Dance with Death. A couple times now throughout the entirety of the session. You said this was a suicide note. So what other I guess what other commentary did you have regarding the song, man? Because I know this is like a touchy point.
That one was actually written probably about a little bit more than a year ago. So I wrote that one last December, lyrically, and you did the synths in it, but I did all the music for that one too. There. Besides the synth work.
It was a more personal.
Yeah, it was a very personal
song for Hunter.
Right.
And at the time of writing that, you know, I was mentally not okay. And like there was a lot of imagery that, like, you know, if you were to just read the lyrics, you'd be like, oh, he's just trying to fit that lyric in where he wants to fit that lyric in. Like I said, you know, you'll find my corpse hanging from the balcony. Like, but what people don't realize is at the time, I was in my parents' home at that moment in my life, and right outside my door was a balcony that was perfect height for me to hang myself off.
Right.
And there's a lot of imagery in that is more personal based. Listening to it on the surface level, that's one of those songs that's like, if you listen to it on a surface level, you're just like, it's just a suicide song. But really, I'm talking directly about the things that were right there around me. I mean, pills. Was trying to overdose on sleeping meds. The part about me just being fucking broken. Here I am, at that time, a 20-something-year-old veteran that has nothing to his name. Served this country, got fucking hurt, and nothing. At that time, I wasn't receiving disability from the government and this, that, and the other thing. I was stuck in my parents' basement and could barely hold a job. And I was just a lot of self-loathing in that. The I'm fucking broken was like why I said it so many times is it's not that I'm just broken mentally, but I was broken physically. Like John got me involved with his company at that time, and I'm a pretty fit dude, but at that moment in time, because of the mental problems, I could barely physically handle working what he was doing, and I was just broken. I said at the end of the song, let my fucking spirit die. And that was me holding on to life, is that I still just even though I had all this darkness in my brain, there was something just there that was just keep going. Stop trying to kill yourself. Just hold on just a little bit longer. And I mean, it was very faint, but my spirit was that soul, that light. And when I said just let my fucking spirit die, it's because I'm just tired. I was tired. I was mentally exhausted. My fortitude was low. Everything in that song is all imagery. And, I honestly just didn't care where I went at that moment in time. We talked about it earlier. I said, I pray that God just takes my heart and rips it apart, because going back to the religious thing, I really wanted to come back to God. And I was like, can you please just fucking take my heart, dude? But I don't want to continue living this life. When you do, go ahead and rip it apart so I fucking go down to hell and I can just be where I need to be. So, that song really resonates with me a lot. And when I'm down, I think about that time that I wrote that song, because it did save me writing that song.
Right. Because it's now you can look back on it, and sure, at the time it was very painful. At the time it was very painful to write that, but now you can look back on that and just know where you do not want to be mentally and spiritually and physically, in every fucking possible way. You never want to be there again because of this song. So I think that's a really, really great way to write a song, have it be presented to the world, and then have that for yourself to go back to, because that's the exact same connection that I have with my debut song. Is essentially you could break it down to, it's a heartbreak song, but there was so much more than that to it, because I was just so fucking naive and just incredibly optimistic about someone who was just not there in that same area. But anyways, not my session, you guys' session. Track 6 being Fuck Your Feelings.
So yeah, fuck your feelings is overall it's dedicated to everybody, and it really is. Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. Nobody. You know, at the end of the day, stop being a bitch. You know, it is what it is.
Like,
now
you got your feelings, and then you overcome them.
Yes. You got them, and you know, whatever. But fuck your feelings. Like, yeah, you can be upset about something, but if you continue being upset about something, that's just weakness.
Right.
If you're upset about something and you change it, great. You know, now you're overcoming. Now you're being better. Fuck your feelings is directed more towards an ex-girlfriend on a surface level speaking, and it is a very fucked up song in some places. You know, fuck your feelings, bitch. You're nothing but a hypocrite. Going back to, you know, this particular individual kept on always saying, you know, like, you did this, you did that, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, they were the ones doing those things that they were yelling at me about. And then, you know, something about she loved to write shit down all the time, and I said, you know, slit your wrist and write out what you think you mean to me, using her own blood, because she went through a stage where she literally fucking was cutting herself because of the things I was doing. And you know, I said, you know, slit your wrist and use the fucking blood to write out your fucking problems, because they're not my issue anymore. You know,
right?
Like, you know,
it's a very sobering, like, emotionally detached song, but for the right reason. It's like, hey, now I'm plucking my emotion away. Get your shit together and deal with it. It's not my,
and to be honest,
not for me to deal with it.
It is a little bit of a petty song. It really is. To be honest, it really is at surface level, because, like, honestly, this relationship was probably 7-8 years ago now. You know,
so it's like, now you can reflect upon it without being so presently, so like immature, you know, petty, whatever. And like, more or less, you're talking from the perspective of you back then, just like, fuck you, bitch, you know, like that type of thing. And I mean, that's completely fine, because for one, it's your music, so you're writing it too. It's like, in hindsight, like, even just hearing those details, it's like, fuck, I would be the same exact way. Like, maniacal relationship, psychotic shit going on, and then on top of that, you're the dumping grounds, per se, for all this negative energy from ex-girlfriend and like their new partner or whatever. It's just fucked. I would hate to be in that situation too. I would be petty as fuck. Write a whole like Body Snatcher-esque record, just like, fuck you. You know, I would be the same exact way. So I get it. So that's Fuck Your Feelings, which I think is just like, it's funny to see that type of name, because it really does remind me of like maybe a Blink 182 pump band, just like, fuck your feelings. But in reality, when you listen to it, it's like, no, there's a little bit more to it than that, and I love that. Number 7, we got Gagged and Bound. What is this one about, man?
I like to fuck.
All right.
No, that's just, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward song. You know, it's very sexual. It's very, you know, what people label as toxic masculinity, what I claim is just being a fucking man. And just being like, yeah, no, I like to fuck, and I like to fuck hard, you know. Like, that is what it is, you know. It is, you know, take it for what you will. If you're mad, that, you know, I'm talking about literally gagging, putting a woman all in BDSM and shit like that, that's on you. Is what it is. You know.
So this is your Attila moment then.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
absolutely.
You
go. So I mean,
big fans.
Yeah, we're big fans of them.
There you go.
I'm like, it's a straightforward song. It has no real deeper, darker meaning behind it at all. It's straight up like just a sexual male deviant song, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, in reality too, like, you know, I make the joke about Attila and shit because that's like their entire discography really is just Franz because he's just enjoying life now and he has a pretty attractive wife and I think he still has a good connection with his kids. I don't know though because I don't know him. So like with that in mind, it's like this one is more or less heart on your sleeve. You're confident and you're comfortable with like who you are, and anybody who has an issue with that can suck and swallow, which I completely agree with. I could never write a song like that, me personally, but like absolutely kudos to you for being able to like just like, oh yeah, like because the rest of the song is hell yeah. Because the rest of this album really is just more or less like sacrilegious suicide and all these other various forms of suicide. So I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let it out. Let it out. Be comfortable with yourself and you know, just be you. So no, that's really cool. Track 8 would be Waste of a Life. What's going on here?
All right. So that one is a couple different fuck yous to a couple different people. And without going into too much detail of who they're about, because if they read the lyrics or they hear the song, they'll know exactly who they are. Mm-hmm. But basically it is just about all these people during a very bad moment in my time. That turned their backs on me, or they said certain things to me, or they were
fuel in the fire.
Threw fuel in the fire. It is a direct fuck you to them, and in that song, I incorporated very specific things in their life to know that if they listened to it, that it was for them. Those sections were for them, you know, it's a very heavy song. It doesn't repeat any parts. It is straight up just so many fuck yous being thrown out.
That's why I wanted to change it up so much and then kind of end on like kind of like a melancholy type feel at the end where it's like real dark throughout it and then it kind of just weirdly brightens up at the end with that random guitar solo.
Yeah, it was like the whole time I'm like just talking about a lot of shit that got all thrown at me at once. And but that ending melancholic guitar solo, what that does to the song is, yes, I'm fucking pissed off, but you know what? I'm gonna get over it.
But fuck your feelings.
Yeah. I'm gonna get over it. And like honestly, some of the folks that song's about, I talk to, you know, I still currently talk to. I mean, am I buddy with them? No.
But like, I would imagine not.
But I'm not like fucking
You're cordial with them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking show up to their house and eat their dog in front of them. You know, like.
Well, hopefully one of them's name isn't John Wick then, because that. So that would be track 8, Waste of Life. 9, we have Carnage. What is Carnage about?
Carnage is literally about Carnage from the superhero universe.
I want Carnage shirts as soon as possible, please.
Oh, what?
I want Carnage shirts immediately. If that's if that's what the song is about, Carnage shirts,
Yes.
please.
So Carnage is literally like it's like I'm talking as Venom, but also as Carnage at the same time. So like Jon does guest vocals in there where he's more of like Carnage in the sense where he's like talking about decapitations, manipulations, and then I literally come in and say like, "Shut the fuck up, you bitch!" And like I'm coming in, you know, like fucking beefed out, fucking venomed out, you know. And then I talk about literally right after that, give me complete Carnage, not talking about Carnage himself, but like what he brings to the table, you know, like just fucking you release Carnage out onto any city, he's gonna fucking eat everything in front of him. You know what I mean? He's gonna completely destroy it. And like it is a very Marvel-esque, you know, style thing. But in mind, while I was writing lyrics for that, I was always looking into the perspective of Venom or Carnage in it and what they would be saying. Like when I came in with the "shut the fuck up, you bitch," like I was picturing like when Carnage and Venom meet, how he's just like, you know, like
it's perfect. I love it.
It's, you know,
yeah,
it's a very violent song too.
Yes.
And especially with those deeper gutturals that you usually do, that I would even compare to like Stevie of Soul Soul or Alex from Slaughter to Prevail. Like that really works for the Venom like type of voice, just like Eddie, you know, like we're in a deathcore band now, Eddie. Like I just think that works so well. And I mean, fucking Venom, the whole like Planet of the Symbiotes, the Knoll storyline, it's just metal as fuck. And I cannot wait to see that come to the big screen someday, because I know it's going to happen eventually. Like I know that's Sony's big plan. It's going to take time. Like I'm going to have kids by the time Venom's just like, Eddie, we're on the symbiote planet now. There's a guy who looks just like you with a giant necro sword. We must kill him. Can I eat him? You know, like that's just gonna be exactly. Like that's gonna be the fall movie event in like 2027 or some shit. I don't know. Like who knows how long it's gonna be in the future, but I know that's gonna happen eventually. Anyways, the Venom story is metal as fuck. So it works for metal merch, and I think it would be cool for Demon Defiled merch in the future. Like not even just Carnage. Like the song title might be Carnage, but like have them just like they did in Let There Be Carnage when they were like combined or whatever, or even in the first one when it was Riot and Venom, and they were almost like the same thing because they were so interconnected. I think that, but replace the two actors with you two, that could be a really good piece of band merch. I think that'd be sick as fuck, and it would just play really well because there's only two of you.
I think on iTunes we still have it as the single as well, because it was originally released as a single before the album, and it had some single art, and it's very dark and Venom-esque. Like it looks like that black goo going all over the place, and it's pretty dope.
Sick. Yeah, well, I mean, there's an idea for y'all, and for anybody who does want to see Carnage and Venom Demon Defiled merch, make sure to spam the YouTube upload. That way it happens eventually. Because democracy. But that being said, title I was about to say title track 10. Oops. Track 10, Suffering. What is going on with Suffering?
A lot.
A lot of suffering.
So Suffering was really the turn of the tables of demon music. It really was. It was originally a single. It came out after Rapture EP. And it's a re-upload, a remaster of the same song. But what it is, it's saying like throughout the whole song that I will bear the suffering of everybody else. Like, bring it on. Like,
your selflessness.
Yeah, in a sense. Like, I went to war for y'all. There's nothing else that you can fucking throw at me that's gonna fucking shock me, sort of deal.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, at the end of the song, I say, I'm tired of all the scum around me. Every single one of you wants something from me. And it's going back to like back when I first got out of the military and I came back to America for the first time. Like, every single fucking person wanted something, no matter who it was. Like, friends, family, random strangers, you know, everybody wanted something fucking from me. But I literally just spent many years overseas. I'm injured. I don't fucking have the time, this, that, and the other thing. But like, just give me a fucking break at the same time. Like, yes, I will bear fucking what you have to say to me and what you want me to do, but give me the fucking time to do it. You know, I'm only one person is what it's really getting at there.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that, by the way. When you came back, people were just like kind of using whatever to their advantage. I'm sorry, man. It sucks.
Oh no. The thing is like, you know, when I came back, I was hospital bound for about a year.
Right.
And I was getting messages from family and friends like, hey, when can you come out for fucking Thanksgiving? Like, no. You can come here and we can spend Thanksgiving together here. I won't have a problem with that, but like, no. And then every time I would go like off base and say I was like going home or whatever, and I was in uniform, there would always be somebody that comes up and is like, hey, can you spare $1? Can you spare this? And I'm like, I'm still trying to get my life put together, man.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like every single person. But the thing is like, especially where I was in California, and they don't really like the military too much out there. You know, that same person, you know, I would walk by in civilian clothing and they'd be super nice to me. They'd be like, hey, like, blah, 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 blah. Can you spare $1? Like, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, here you go. I would walk by them the next day in my uniform and I would get a middle finger and told to fucking eat shit and die, you know, but they didn't realize that I'm the same fucking person, you know, like, you know,
sucks.
Yeah. So that's kind of what that song is about. But that song was a trademark to kind of our new sound,
are evolving.
Okay.
Because if you listen to that song, it has more or less like how we started shaping music, like compared to Rapture EP. Rapture EP was straightforward. There wasn't very many repeating parts, but the short Suffering was a bit longer of a song. It had some repeating parts as a chorus, but nothing else really repeated in the song, and how things were structured. Like, we went doing a lot more technical chord style chuggy riffs as opposed to
just open chugs and, you know.
Yeah. So like when like a guitar is doing like da 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 da, like the kick drum also doing that. It's following it. The kick drum follows the rhythm of the guitar and the bass. Whereas like before we'd have some sections where like it didn't necessarily follow that pattern. But like even now, like there's certain situations where the drums deviate a little bit to add some extra layers. But you know, in our very rhythmic parts, like we became more rhythmic, I think.
Yeah, and it's more cohesive.
Yeah, like if you were to take like most of our songs, like Suffering, for example, if you took Suffering and said, I wanted to make a trap rap version of this song, you absolutely could, because it's very rhythmic, you know. Instead of a hi-hat, it's a kick drum, you know, like sort of deal. It's more rap flowy in a sense.
He hates the hi-hat, by the way.
Yeah, I fucking hate hi-hats. They resonate in my brain. So I cannot stand the sound of a hi-hat. It literally gives me a migraine.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll definitely be giving Suffering another listen here pretty soon, because I do remember like later in the session for my front to back, I'm like, huh, this is like really reminding me of Soul Soul. Like whether it be the production or like what's just going on and how cohesive everything is and how easy it is to listen to, but also it's still like really chuggy. The vocals are doing really well, and like the lower just like howling guttural areas. Like this reminds me a lot of Soul Soul. It's like this could easily be the replacer for Soul Soul, being that they're like retiring, like they're done now. So I mean, like I'll definitely be listening to that again. And at 8:33 p.m., which is like 9:33 p.m. for you guys, right?
Sure.
We have the final track of Death Autonomous, that being Deaths of Hell. Badass. What an album. Whoa. What is going on with this final track, gentlemen? It helps wrap up the album.
It is a very it's not a blunt song. If you get at face value, sure, you can. But I've seen the Depths of Hell. You know, it's a lot of the lyrics in that are very much like, I've been through the fucking shit. You know, I've been through it. And I'm not gonna fucking waste time going through that shit anymore. You know?
Right.
That's really like, it's a very like, my lows in that song are very much, I am trying to say that like I was on the level with Satan himself. You know? Like that's why I was going as low as I did. Like, and to be honest, yeah, I layered a few times on some of the parts there, you know, to get that very like, disgusting, guttural, different tonal prowess there. Yeah. But the art behind it is that like I'm literally saying that I've been to the deepest, darkest roots of hell, you know, of what it's like to just fucking have no light around you at all, whether it's from anger, from greed. Like I've been through anger, greed, fucking hatred, fucking anything that's dark. I've been there. I've gone through it. And you know, but the overlying factor is that I just won't put myself in those situations again. Like if I'm unhappy with something, I'm gonna change it. You know, I'm gonna do something different, whether that be fucking financial, relationship, religion, fucking whatever it is, you know. So why, like that's one of those songs that I got a comment on one of our YouTube pages, one of our YouTubes. Somebody was like, "Oh, you worship the Antichrist and this, that, and the other thing, blah 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 blah," because they took it at surface level, you know. Yeah. And I was like, it's literally saying the exact fucking opposite, but thanks, dog. You know?
Yeah, thanks for paying attention.
Yeah. But that one also means quite a big bit to me. Because, you know, I have been through quite a bit in this world, more than what the average 26-year-old man has been through. Yeah. You know, not saying that people haven't had it worse or that what people are going through is not as bad, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm one of those people that, especially when it comes to like PTSDs and stuff, like if the worst thing that has ever happened to you is that you stubbed your toe, I understand. Like that is the worst thing. Like that is what gave you that PTSD is at a single level, you know. The other things around that, yeah, they up and down, blah, 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 blah. But like, I'm not going to make fucking somebody feel bad that, you know, yes, I've been literally fucking destroyed overseas. Feel bad for the worst thing that's ever happened to them. Have their post, you know, like
it's not a competition.
It's not a fucking competition.
No, it's not.
But the end of the day, you know, like, I just wanted to make that very clear that, like, yeah, I'm not saying that people have it better or worse than me or this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I've gone through a lot more physical appearance of what trauma is than most 6-year-old men
Yes.
have gone through. And, you know, that song really resonates with me with that. It's more of the uplifting side of the Dance with Death.
Yes.
More of, okay, Dance with Death was me being sad and depressed and feeling fucking bad for myself. This is more like, I've been through hell and I'm not going back.
Yep.
Right, exactly. And that's always good. That's a great way to wrap up the record, I think. Just like, yeah, and like I was a demon defiled. I continue to be defiled, but I'm not going to let that determine my future. And like, despite the depths of hell that I've visited, despite the depths of hell that this demon per se has lived in and has been forced to live in, not even intentional. Like, I might be a demon, but I wasn't. No demon was born in hell. Came from somewhere else. Anyways, you know, like, I was there, but I'm not going back. I'd rather be stuck on Earth with my human issues than go back there. Something similar. I like that. So, future me, sorry that, you know, you're gonna have to look through for that fucking timestamp. It's like, let's see, we started at 5, so 3 hours and 3 hours 39 minutes in. Is when we end the Under the Skin session